Vice President J.D. Vance thinks Americans aren't having enough kids.
I want more babies in the United States of America.
And the Trump administration believes having kids starts with getting married, saying the, quote, traditional family unit has come under recent cultural attack. That's why the federal government is pouring money into marriage counseling programs, dubbed by some marriage boot camps.
I was skeptical at first because I'm like, we don't need to go to that. But once we went through the class, I learned a lot, and actually, I would do it again.
Tanja and Freddie Gaddis completed an 8-week class just after their wedding in 2024, where they dove deep on issues like how to communicate better.
You're a little bit more than a year in to the marriage. How's it going?
It's going well. Don't get us wrong now. It's not perfect, but it's perfect with us learning how to work through the disagreements.
The program they went to, run by Auburn University, funded in part by federal programs that have been around for a while. And now it's one of more than 100 that are receiving portions of a new 9-figure federal grant. President Trump is also now giving money directly to newborns in his 2025 budget bill, with so-called Trump accounts for long-term investments. And on top of that, the Heritage Foundation, authors of Project 2025, want the president to renew his vows with a new push, in their words, to save America by saving the family. Some of their ideas? Discouraging online dating, direct payments for newlyweds, more tax incentives for married couples and kids, and yes, marriage boot camps. Not just funded, but run by the federal government, specifically by Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s Department of Health and Human Services.
People need to understand the importance of marriage.
The total cost of Heritage's plan? $280 billion over the next decade.
The modest investment, I think, will pay off tremendous dividends because we'll have a healthy, growing population in the best ideal circumstances.
He's talking about population because the U.S. may be staring down a growing shrinking problem, as some demographers warn that the country's population could decline soon, for the first time since the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776. The U.S. fertility rate hit an all-time low in 2024. Now experts say a combination of the declining birth rate and the Trump administration's immigration crackdown is slowing population growth faster than expected. Data from Pew Research found that for the first time in 50 years, more immigrants are leaving the U.S. than coming in. It's why you're hearing about so-called pro-natalist policies a lot more, pushed by people like Elon Musk, who has fathered at least a dozen children of his own.
And I think for most countries, they should view the birth rate as the single biggest problem they need to solve.
But some experts say policies need to go beyond paying for people just to have more babies. The director of the Carolina Population Center at UNC telling us in an earlier interview, investing in long-term support for families is just as important.
Keeping moms in the labor market is going to be important if we have fewer people overall, but also sort of investing heavily in young children to make sure that they are in safe childcare environments, that they are getting educational starts early in life.
More money for families has long been a priority for Democrats, with Republicans generally focusing on cultural issues.
I think if you really give people a sense of ownership in this country, a sense that they can build something, build a nest egg, build a family, that is the trick to reinvigorating the American dream.
Now, year 2 of Trump 2 may focus on both.
And John Allen is joining us now. So what's your sense, John, on reporting this out? Is this something that could get bipartisan support from Democrats, too?
I think there are pieces of it that could get bipartisan support. We've already seen some of that, the baby bonds that President Trump did in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. There's something he had talked about before, that's something Kamala Harris had talked about on the campaign trail. Originally, I believe, started with Cory Booker, the New Jersey Democrat. So I think there's definitely interest on the Democratic side in doing some of these pro-family things when you talk about expanding child tax credits, things like that. But the Heritage Foundation's price tag for its plan is $280 billion over a decade, which is a lot of money, and I think that most Democrats would like to see more resources devoted to some of the existing programs, particularly those that are aimed at the least advantaged in the country. And, what the Heritage Foundation has put out there does not necessarily do that.
John Allen, thank you very much for that. Good to see you.
Thanks, Allie.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.